$600 pension 10, 15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. We're live. Monday night, the 4th day of the month of March, and we are officially live, RTD Live Talk. My name is Mike, the host of Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. Welcome, everybody. As always, give it a second before I begin going back and forth, but more importantly, for any new viewers, let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to give you a shout out. You can do it via the chat right here over my shoulder, or there's a number above my head, 1-833-LIVE-RTD. It's for you to call in and let me know what's on your mind. So tonight, as you guys can see from tonight's title, I want to just basically start the week off with checking in with you guys to find out what's going on. I know there's all types of things happening all over this planet, of which we can't get to them all, but I want to hear about what concerns you the most. So as always, let me know in the chat over here, or give me a call and let's talk. And more importantly, I figure I'll start the night off talking about the news article done earlier about the millennials. And so there's about 95, 98 million or so, whatever the numbers they give us, of millennials between the ages of 24 and 38, of which, according to 1,500 of them, more than half of them regret actually buying a house. And then according to the article there, basically they didn't know what they were getting into. And so I guess it was just the lure of home ownership. And it's still the idea of having a piece of the American dream, which has always been tied up into home ownership. But yet home ownership nowadays comes at a much higher price than it did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so it's unfortunate that a lot of people are still, in need of housing, A, but then B, have to buy into this extremely high housing market at a time where it's at a peak as far as the price per square footage and you name it in a lot of metropolitan areas. So with that being the case, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be upset in the days ahead, especially if there is a housing correction like a lot of us believe that is on the way or currently underway, depending on how you look at it. So that being the case, welcome. Let me find out who's in the chat, give you a shout out real quick. So we got Spirit King, how you doing? We got Tony, we got James, we got Flor de Oro. So Flor de Oro, I wonder is that ORO anything to do with gold? Tony, we got Michael, happy Monday. Scott, Derek, Kenneth. It says, Clint says, how many people are losing their jobs with all the jobs closing? Clint, man, that's another good point. That's another good thing to look at as far as home ownership. So not only are a lot of millennials, which are primarily right now the backbone of the labor force for the most part. You know, the 28 to 38 years old time frame there is where most people are entering into the workforce or approaching the peak of their career, sort of, where there's massive amounts of unemployment. Especially we know about the automotive sector, we know about the retail sector, and every other sector that we haven't even touched yet. So I imagine, and I'm sure, once our RTD reporter on the streets, Jeff, joins us, if he does tonight, he'll probably have some articles for us. But I know there's probably a lot of other sectors that's being impacted by this slow growth in this global economy, of which there's more layoffs than we're probably hearing about. So, but once again, you should listen to your mainstream news sources. They'll tell you that we're at all-time unemployment lows, where they say they're throwing out 3.7% unemployment out of a total population, not including those not in the workforce and so forth. So, Florida Auto, he said yes. All right, he said he's in NYC. It says they call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Will, good point, man. And so, yeah, the American dream, man, that's something that I think this decade, before before this decade is out, which we got another year, give or take, before 2020 hits, heading into another decade of which just not to be all doom and gloom, but I think this 2020 through 2030 will probably be the most challenging for this country, especially as the world continues to move further away from dependence on the Federal Reserve note, as well as just our country being labeled the leader of the free world. Like, a lot of countries aren't really experiencing that the freedom that they would like to have, given the fact that they're massively in debt. They're taking on our debt as an asset. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing pans out. I'll be interested to find out your thoughts before we dive any further into tonight's discussion. The next 10 years. What are some possible outcomes of, say, a monetary reset, monetary restructuring? Do a lot of people, or do you rather, consider the possible downgrading of your lifestyle at this current moment? Because once inflation picks up, as a lot of people mentioned that inflation is already creeping up in certain sectors or whatnot, we already know where the primary inflation has been pumped into in the bubble economy we're in, whether it be housing, stock market. That's, true signs of an inflation that's unfortunately tied to a lot of people's net worth. And so if your net worth, the way the net worth is that's the thing. One thing that bothers me big time about these financial networks, they talk about, being a millionaire and getting your net worth up and all that stuff like that. But I'm thinking, like, if your net worth is pretty much linked to or tied to everything that's in a bubble, once the bubble pops, there goes your net worth, relatively speaking. And so, man, it's just, more things to think about. But I'm curious to find out, as far as lifestyle is concerned, like we're very blessed and very privileged in the land of this opportunity and land of freedom, whatever we have left. But how many people actually consider the possibility of a downgrade in lifestyle where a lot of the luxuries we have now, we may not have as readily available or as easy as we might have in 10 years or so? And what would that look like? What are some things that you can probably do without that's probably a privilege / luxury item at this current point? Say, for example, here's a good example here. And I'm just, getting things started before we get going. But as far as just the idea that most households now, pretty much all households now in a family environment has more than one vehicle, because everyone has their own agenda. Everyone's going a different direction. You got your kids going one way, wife going this way, father, everybody's going a different way. How about if gas prices went up to something like, let's say like in the EU area, we know gas price per liter is like $6-7 or something like that per liter. I did an article on Nigeria being at $15 an hour, of which I wonder if it's even more or less. But if gas prices went up dramatically, how would that alter your family, your household, as far as everyone going different directions? Would you cut back, or would you downgrade to one vehicle? Or those are all things that, we don't get a chance to really think about much because we're so blessed and so privileged in this country. So I believe that those type of decisions possibly could be in our future, just because, once again, once everything is no longer priced in dollar terms, globally rather, that means that we're going to have to value things differently in this country here, given the fact that we may have another currency, because the Federal Reserve note, will not be around forever. And when it's no longer, that means another currency and everything that comes with that. So as we can see, many nations around us have to deal with those type of issues, and it's never pretty. But let me get back to some chat here. What we got here says, should I start learning Chinese and move to China? Flora de Oro. I don't think, definitely learning Mandarin would definitely be an asset, but I apart from just hearing it's not an easy language to pick up. If you want to truly learn it, of course, the best thing to do is submerge yourself in the culture or whatnot. And so going there would be ideal. But in my opinion, I think that the Asian, there's going to be a much greater Asian influence in this country this next decade, because I think that we already know that the Chinese have bought a lot of real estate and properties and things of that nature in this country. So it's good to say that they're going to either move over into them or rent them back to us as we're working for them. And so there will be Chinese manufacturing plants up and running in this country, I believe, in the next 10, 15 years, give or take. just because we're going to be back, you know, to making things in America, but yet making it under the payroll of our creditors. It says, I have downgraded my lifestyle. Binja, pajama. So how have you downgraded your lifestyle a little bit? And was it something of a complete shock, or were you living well beyond and you just brought it down to something relative? I would love to find that out. And so Jane says, lifestyle. It says, Mike, soup kitchen of the 30s already here. It's called EBT, low blood pressure. I agree with that 100%. And so now that we're in a digital age, it's a lot easier to get away with things such as the amount of people on government subsidy. And I think we've talked about it before, but it's about 30 million or so people actually receive food subsidies from the government. So if that, 30%, that's 1/10. So basically 1/10 roughly of the population in this country are dependent upon food from the government. So that's, somewhat of a quite large number in my opinion. But imagine if it doubled or tripled this next coming, whatever you call it. And so Florida says, TJ Maxx closes, I'll lose my mind. TJ Maxx. Yeah, TJ Maxx is one of my more popular liked stores. So do you think we should have a flat tax rate? Chauncey, man, a flat tax rate? Flat tax rate. I just hearing that offhand without giving it much thought, I would say no. Just because I don't think, even if there was a flat tax rate, I don't foresee that cutting into or alleviating income tax, sales tax. I mean, they're still going to find ways to tax us, because I think that the flat rate tax or the flat tax rate, if there was a flat tax rate, it's going to have to be high in order to compensate for all this massive debt that we're in. Because when you look at what taxes utilized for, it's utilized for revenue for governments and municipalities. So they're going to have to tax it a little bit higher in order to sustain themselves, of which it will be unsustainable for you and I. So I don't think so. Rice and Beans says, I live below my means. Okay, fair enough. It says, do without food stamps, public housing, and Medicaid. It says, people in a third world country will adapt much better in a world economic downturn because they are not as dependent on creature of comforts. We enjoy the states. In other words, we are spoiled rotten. Will Edwards, I agree 100%, man. And that's why I think one of the best lessons we can probably learn is looking at the lifestyles of second and third world countries, of which, if you've had a chance to travel to any of those areas, you're one thing you'll pick up immediately is the fact that the lack of expectation and the lack of commercialization of the economies puts people in a very different perspective, to where it's more family oriented. More people tend to be a little bit more friendlier, more family oriented in general in second and third world countries, because family at the end of the day is all we have, really. It's just in this country here, we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of thinking that life is more than relationships or whatnot, and it's more so about progressing and climbing the ladder or something like that. But in those type of environments, their family is unbelievably important, to where, I think that's more realistic, and people right there don't have much expectations for nothing, because everyone basically lives within their means, whatever their means are, which is well below what we have here. And that would be the biggest shock, I think. People really coming to grips with the idea that, I don't know what the average is, but out of 7-8 billion people, a good portion, if not, 2/3 or more, live off what I hear, $5 a week or something like that. Could you imagine, doing something of that nature? And even if you compare that to what we're living on here, what the bare minimum is here, the bare minimum here with the government subsidy is still cable, cell phone, high-speed internet, a car with gas. On the worst end, everybody here who's living in poverty has that type of thing for the most part. So, yeah, man. It says, yes, I was living above my means and I just quit buying the bling. There you go. Buying the bling. It says, post phone number, please. Oh, so Drew, the phone number is above my head. 1-833-LIVE-RTD. And so what that breaks down into in numbers, I know it, but I don't know it offhand. It's like 533 or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It says, I'd rather have a national sales tax, get rid of our state tax code, IRS. Yeah, Home Rocks, I wouldn't mind having that either. But my only concern is, what would the rate? What's an appropriate rate to tax everybody evenly type of thing, because you know you're still gonna have, you know, we have a, because society is so, so lopsided. There's the extremes and there's the not enoughs, and because that's always gonna remain, you're gonna have people down here talking about they not paying their fair share. We're gonna be hearing that fair share stuff, which is coming really soon with all of these socialists starting to announce they're running for presidency. So we're gonna have more people talking about new green deals and new tax rates, and they're gonna be giving us these so-called solutions to our problems, which is only gonna strip away our rights even more and indebt us even more. The only thing the politicians can do moving forward in the form of promises is add more to the debt. And they can do that because they don't care about ever having to ever even think about paying it down. So that being the case, expect more promises that will not be lived up to. It says, as a 25-year-old who can't currently afford a house, I think my future will be better as I stack silver and patiently buy what's undervalued and wait for yeah, and that's the thing, man. I was going to title tonight's video, you know, what are you guys more excited about? Because I saw that there was a slight dip in the silver and gold price today, and it got down to under 1,300 and got down to close to 15. I heard it was up to like 14, high 14s or something. And so what's more exciting to you guys personally? Because we have a mixed crowd of cryptos and we have a mixed crowd of precious metals. What's more exciting, the idea of a dip in the metals price or in the cryptos price? I'll be interested to find out for those who might want to chime in. What's more exciting? What's more of a buying opportunity for you guys? It says, every month I try to save 200 cash on hand, 100 in silver, and 100 in crypto. Edward Diaz. All right, my friend. That sounds like your plan. Work your plan till you can't work it anymore. It says, Derek, it says, how many RTD viewers have monthly or quarterly budgets? If not, you better start tonight. Monthly and quarterly budgets. Derek, good heads up on that one, my friend. That probably might be a good idea. Get into some strategizing and some strategy type of things where we can talk about that in depth from a personal opinion standpoint, because of course we can't do anything about financial information or anything of that nature. So, but we have a caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, calling from Pennsylvania.
Mike. So this is Mike calling from Pennsylvania, or
saying hello to you.
How you doing, my friend? What's your name again?
Andrew.
Andrew, how you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this evening?
Real good. I just caught your question.
All right, about the what?
And I have some reverb.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to talk slowly.
Okay, go ahead.
Dip in metals versus crypto.
Dip in metals versus crypto. Yes. Which one is more appealing to you, or both, or neither?
They're completely tied together.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Elaborate for me.
The prices are announced.
Mm-hmm. They're announced.
If one goes, the other is going to move.
Okay, so you said if one goes, as far as like takes off or goes down.
Either direction.
Either direction. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so
so emotionally, there is no choice.
Okay.
Between.
Okay.
Okay. They are both representations of the global debt. And they are both suppressed and controlled by the global debt cabal.
Okay, I can understand that one. And so they're both suppressed and controlled by the global debt cabal. Okay, so watch this. Let me ask you a question. So if you had a choice of putting, say, $100 or say $1,000, say, okay, say one, what would you prefer? One single Bitcoin or 1 ounce of gold? If you had a choice to buy just one, given the fact you said when they both gonna take off, what do you think is going to be more beneficial in nominal terms down the line, or are they going to be the same price roughly thereof?
I would lean towards the physical, but to trade that value for a good or service, you are tied to the value presented to us all by the computers that decide our value from our efforts.
Okay.
So gold under roof is good if you can trade it locally and determine the value of the good and service you require in that moment without USD involved.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. So
if I want some meat from a farmer, then he and I decide how many pounds for how much gold I could give him. Now, on the crypto side, if he was on a decentralized ledger, I could transfer him crypto in a fractional amount more easily. But again, it has to be valued without the USD polluting, determining our value between what is given and received.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So metals and crypto need to be connected. In a decentralized medium where we never check their false pricings in USD.
Right.
Well, we need to get immune to USD.
Right. I agree 100%. So basically, to kind of wrap all that up there, basically, you can't measure it. You shouldn't in the long term anticipate on measuring gold or silver or anything in USD, because if you do, you're going to be on the short end of the stick. So basically, those items of themselves should be a measuring value tool that you may not want to label USD with. So in talking about Bitcoin, Bitcoin might be the standard per se, or how much weight per se in that particular metal might be the measuring tool and the value proposition you're talking about, as opposed to USD. So, hey, I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's definitely some good stuff there.
Can I have an ending statement, please?
Yeah, feel free. Go ahead.
If we can vault the metal, which is precious and finite, and have it represented by a crypto, now I may transact at the other end of the country, and the metal in the vault is transferred, not ownership, but is transferred under a trust with a fiduciary, not a BOD. And then the metal never moves and stays accountable on the ledger of the vault or the decentralized network. Now I can get goods and services further than I can physically drive my silver or gold.
Well, good point,
put something in my car and bring it home.
All right, man. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you calling and sharing that, man. Definitely, that's something to chew on right there. So I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you.
Anytime you speak in USD, you might as well be at the bar looking at the pretty ladies.
All right,
Take care, Mike.
Have a good one. Yeah, man, good stuff. And so so the calls. So basically, I'm gonna try to take next calls using a different service just because of the delay. So apart from the fact I'm not sure what it is, but we keep it moving, man. So I appreciate you guys chiming in and sharing your thoughts. Definitely appreciate that right there. Don't measure your future economic energy in anything labeled USD or i.e. a Federal Reserve note. It's better. I look at it as I've always mentioned before, a part of rethinking the dollar is to look at things in terms of actual nominal weight. How much weight are you transferring for whatever it is you're looking for? And so I like in Mike Maloney's book how I read that years ago, how he talked about how a good way to measure what you're purchasing or what you're transferring in the form of energy back and forth is how much will it cost you in terms of ounces. And look over time and see if the ounces go up or down. Will give you an idea of how much value you're receiving back in the form of whatever it is you're purchasing, or if it's even worth purchasing. So good stuff, man. Good stuff there. So as always, feel free to call in. Let me know what's in your mind. Would love to hear more. And so I missed a lot in the chat here. What else we got here? Let me see if any questions are here. It says gold has already been slammed down 600%. Guys, trust to hold your gold to silver. So Spirit, so what prompted the question to ask the viewers if they would trust me to hold their gold or silver? I don't have a vault big enough to hold anything major of that nature of multiple people. But at the end of the day, that's a good question. But yet, I don't want answers to that one. It says, Omnibone says, 1, 10s, and 100s, and 1,000 are a rise of BTC. We shall never, ever again see 3,000 BTC. Omnibone, man, so you thinking that, so you're saying, if I'm reading this correctly, let me know. More importantly, Omni, give me a call. I would love to find out more. It says, if I'm reading that correctly, you're saying that we will not see 3,000 BTC again. So we've hit the bottom at BTC, according to you. Let me know. It says, the low blood. I trust Mike. He's from Detroit. Low blood pressure. I appreciate that. Oh, my goodness. It says, Spirit Key, it says, gold might be precious and finite. However, there are much paper gold being sold that doesn't actually exist. Crypto, you can actually check. You've had to hold the gold yourself. You've had to hold the gold yourself. Yeah. And so the claims to metals are infinite, of course, but yet just the actual physical metals themselves are limited. And limited, I mean by, it could still be, what, I don't even know how much gold above ground, 100 million ounces, 300 million, whatever the ounces there are, there's still a finite amount of metals in total, whether it's in private hands, in hidden vaults, in banks or whatever, in comparison to the amount of paper and digits alone that all have to be accounted for. Every single, and I always do this, but I'll do it again. Every single Federal Reserve note has to be accounted for. And so there's no way of getting away from it. And so the best example, if you don't believe me, the best example is just to look at all the currencies around us that's been hyperinflated away. The nominal price of a good and service is basically equal to the amount of paper in circulation. So a bolivar, like a good example is gold was, back when there's somewhat of on par with each other, gold was like, 100, was 1,000 bolivars an ounce. Now it's, 300 million bolivars. So yeah, but let me find out. Got a caller here. Got to switch it up real quick. Let me see what's going on this one.
$100.
Hello, caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Omni.
Omni, how you doing, my friend? Now, shit.
I'm fine, man. I'm fine.
I appreciate you calling in.
I had to call to get this out.
Okay, go ahead. Give it to me.
You will not ever see $1 Bitcoin again. You will not ever see $100 Bitcoin again. You will not ever see $1,000 Bitcoin again. I've been buying Bitcoin from 6,000 down and up. Because one thing I know, when these prices leave, like $1,000, like $100, we're gonna wish we bought.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I was actually watching a video, a YouTuber tonight, not long ago, and he was going through the price history chart of how starting at 2011, every so often it was a spike from like $15 to 100, then it went down something lower, then it was up to $1,000, then it went down to 200, and so all these spikes have gone bigger. And he was saying basically, if you look at those trends, it looks like the next spike could be well at 100,000 to 300,000 based upon those graphs. It was a pretty looking graph where I'm like, I would be willing to bet that is more likely than if to go to zero, given the fact he was highlighting that all the Forbes, the Time, all the big financial institutions were saying it's in a bubble. Whenever you hear them say it's in a bubble, They probably bought in them they damn self.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. So
and they're just looking for a way to get it off. I'm not getting rid of anything I have. I've been doubling down on what I want.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, Grayscale has over 1% of Bitcoin right now. News recently came out. Somebody accumulated 150,000 Bitcoin. How much Bitcoin do you have?
150.
Because pretty soon, there's not even going to be 0.001 for anybody left to buy.
But here's the thing: if everyone's hoarding a Bitcoin, so how then will it be utilized in the form of payments for goods and services, or will they not use it? In your opinion?
I mean, not everybody's hodling it.
Yeah.
You use Japan as an example. They're actively using it throughout their society. Actively, but people are still saving.
Yeah.
It's called savings.
Yeah.
I'm not saving my money in the bank. I'm not giving them money to hold my money. I hold my own damn money.
I hear you, man.
And I gain interest from it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do be better.
And all I got to do is hold it and it gains interest. Real interest.
Yeah.
I know my staking is going to pay me back. The bank isn't guaranteed to do nothing but make a false account in my name and try to add some bullshit charges like Wells Fargo. Bitcoin don't do that to me.
Yeah. All right, man. So let me. So I know a particular coin. I know you're a big fan on. So just for the sake of just entertainment and interest, what are some of your top coins that you like yourself, and give me a little synopsis as to why.
Let's start with Coinbase. Bitcoin, at least have your 0.1. I always use the Bitcoin time traveler story as a reference point. At some point, people with 0.01 Bitcoin will be considered rich.
I agree.
And I can even apply that to now because Bitcoin is running out. And those whales are accumulating. While everybody else, these retail investors, they're scared and jumping out, guess what? Those whales are soaking it all up. 150,000 Bitcoin in 2 months. That says a lot.
So watch
Wall Street has their lanes open and ready to let those guys in. Think of how much more is going to get soaked up. There's only 21 million ever. Supply and demand.
Yeah.
And the supply is running out. People can talk all the mess they want.
Yeah.
You can go to India and get an abundance of gold. But you can't travel anywhere in the world after a certain amount of Bitcoin is just gone from the system.
Yeah.
It's going to be a panic.
Yeah. I do agree. So in your humble opinion, do you think that next rally will be the rally of all rallies, or will it continue to have a spike and then come down? So like if it goes to 100,000, it'll drop down to 20.
You're still gonna have deniers.
Yeah.
You're still gonna have the naysayers. So even at 100,000, we can spike from 100 to 300. We're gonna drop back down to maybe 30,000. Guess what? We're at 3,000 now. If we drop down to 30,000, that's still 10 times. Understand something? I've been in since 580. Okay? We're at 3,000. I'm not scared to let nothing go. I told you, I've been accumulating.
Yeah.
I continuously accumulate because I know they're accumulating.
Yeah. Yeah.
People can keep playing, but, at some point, 0.01 is going to cost you $10,000 to purchase.
Yeah.
Whereas you could just get it for a couple dollars right now.
Now watch this, Omni. So I got someone here asked a question. It says their question is, how is he making interest? So share with us a couple coins you're staking. Tron. EOS.
I stake Golden, but that takes 90 days to pay out. You can stake Bitbean. Do that. For different coins have different methods of staking them. Like they all proof of stake. Yes, you hold them and you'll get a payment, but certain things you got to do it certain ways. Bitbean, you do 40,000 per address, 4 addresses, and you'll get returns probably quicker than you would sending 160,000 to one address. Stealth coin, I love that one. I stake 3,000 of those. I do 1,000 daily because it takes 3 days for the coin to mature. So every day for 3 days, I'm staking a different 1,000, and then you unlock it and keep unlocking and relocking.
I like your operation, man. I need you to.
There's methods to understand, man. I got miners here, S9s, S7s, S7 LSs.
Yeah.
I got gecko miners, all sorts of little stuff that I waste a lot of money on. Staking is it.
Yeah.
Unless you have the money to spend on miners.
Yeah.
But, you know, even waves.
Yeah.
Even waves. You know, for now, 300 Satoshis may not seem like nothing. Mm-hmm. But in a few years, 300 Satoshis is going to be $300 equivalent.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, I said someone...
People don't, everybody's focused on now and not thinking about the future.
Yeah.
Everybody's, you know, when internet first came out, email. Okay, yeah, but guess what? What do you use today on a regular basis? Yeah. Email. It's your life.
Yeah.
The same will apply to the money of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But people are so just caught up in their ways, they don't want to see anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, he said, a lot of my people will suffer from a lack of knowledge. It's part ignorance, too.
Yeah.
Learn something new. You might get somewhere farther than where you are.
All right, here's a question. Somebody asked another question for you. And so it looks like it's a little mini interview. So it says,
no problem.
Hey, caller, why did the creator of Litecoin get out at the top?
Profit, buddy. Wouldn't you? Say he's not back in now. He got back in at the bottom. It's called smart investing, man.
Yeah. I wonder, has anybody asked Charlie Lee, has he gotten back in? I wonder.
I haven't really heard it yet.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't doubt it.
That would be a good question.
The man is actively trying to work with Litecoin now. What will make you think he won't have some to help fund the organization that, you know, he built?
Yeah. Hey,
1 + 1 = 2.
That's good stuff, man. Hey, Omni, man, I appreciate you calling in, man. I definitely, man, shoot me an email, man. I'm going to ask you a question, so shoot me an email. I want to talk to you about something, man.
You got my email, man. You shoot me when you're ready.
Bet. Good deal. I'll do that. All right. Have a good one, boss. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, man. That's good stuff there, man. Yeah, man. That's some real talk there. Appreciate you calling in. Definitely gonna get at you. It says let's get back to the chat. And there's a lot of good stuff here in the chat. Looks like we had a lot of questions there. Didn't get to all the questions. The FDIC will pay me at least a penny. What else we got here? Cardano, crypto. So it's turned into a crypto. And so the question was, prior to having, I think, last 2 callers or so, was what's more exciting to you, having a spike in gold or silver? And so first caller mentioned both because they go up in tandem together. Second caller here looks like it's more of a crypto thing. So my question for the majority of everyone else that may not call in the chat, let me know what you would prefer. Or, of course, both of them are going to go, just because it's not that they themselves are doing anything special. It's just that the paper that they're valued in is going the opposite direction, which means that the buying price or the purchasing price of those coins and metals have to go up. That's all. So every Federal Reserve note will be accounted for in the form of metals in some form or fashion. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Mike. This is Spirit King. How are you?
I'm doing good, Spirit. How you doing, my friend? What's in your mind this evening?
Well, I was asking the chat a bit ago about if they would trust you with their gold.
Yeah.
I actually explained later on chat, but...
Okay, go ahead. Explain it. What brought that question up?
I keep thinking about doing an RTD token or cryptocurrency, but it would need to actually do something useful, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought maybe if people ended their gold, or somehow you work as a broker, intermediate investor or something like that. But that's just an idea, you know? But I'm calling to let you know, you and the people on the chat, and if there are good ideas, maybe we can actually make that happen.
Yeah, you know, and speaking of with Spirit, you know, so when I was talking via email a while ago, and so one thing in reference to pegging something, and I'm becoming more of a big fan of these notes right here. And so I'm not sure if you can see it, but these Carat Bar notes with this 0.1 gram in it, I've been really thinking about these things a lot because I've ordered some more. And so I think that these pieces of paper here, even though we talk about paper returning to zero, because of what's on this 0.1 gram here, this is not going to zero because it has intrinsic value engraved into this thing here. So I would love to find out a way to create a coin or token, RTD coin in reference to some of these notes here, because those are a lot easier to purchase and acquire than actual having a vault full of bricks and gold. So let's put some thought towards that. Let me know what you can come up with. We can make something happen.
Yeah, well, to note, first, the stream is always on a lag, so I can't actually see what you are showing. But you showed it before, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, making a token is not difficult at all, especially for someone with some geek, so to say.
Yeah.
But the physical side, the trust side, is the real issue, you know, because in this scenario you would be holding something for the people, you know. I believe it's usually better suited to something like tokens, like to buy stuff on their site or something like that is a lot less riskier.
Yeah.
Because people who will actually trust Mike from the stream to all their actual gold, you know. You are not like a big institution.
Yeah.
But who knows, if you have ideas of stuff that you can actually tokenize, that's not hard to make a reality.
But, okay, I definitely, because I think in a chat a while back you mentioned it, and so I definitely would like to explore it, just because it could be a medium of exchange for, as you mentioned, things on the site, or just amongst the community, just to get people involved, like incentivizing people to get involved, sharing videos, and just from a business standpoint to where they have value and people don't mind, you know, accumulating them and using them for purchasing whatever amongst the community itself. So it could just be a community currency that goes back and forth amongst us type of thing that has value. So definitely, I would like to put some thought to that, man. So I appreciate the spirit.
I have one idea that's pretty close to that, because I don't know if you realize, but the YouTube takes 30% from the super chat. And so I thought, what about doing a site that actually uses the same stream as the YouTube and actually shows the same chat, but allows people to deposit money and then use the super chat alternative, so to say. So the creator, the content creator, in this case you, would be able to actually receive more of the money. And since people would be depositing money in some fashion, why not use that token and allow that token to be used by the people? And for instance, you could like a comment from someone and you could actually give tokens to that person, or someone else could actually gift to someone else on the chat. Oh, here's $5 for you to super chat or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
We need ideas, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I like that, man. So that's another way of incentivizing the community, and so I can receive and give back to those that answer questions or whatever, to be direct. So that's interesting, man. So yeah, I gotta put some thought to that, man. Let's talk a little further on that one.
Yes, and people in the chat should also contribute ideas.
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
Someone
I'll throw that out there.
The next $1 billion idea, you know.
Yeah, good deal. I'll throw that out there right now and see if anybody pops up with anything, or if people who watch the restream can probably come up with some ideas in the chat, in the comments. So, Omni, I appreciate you, man, as always. Or Spirit,
Thank
rather.
you,
I'm
Mike.
sorry.
Good night.
Have a good night, buddy. Yeah, man, that's a good. I like that idea. I like that idea. We have a very smart community here. So, for those that were listening, the mention was coming up with our own little community coin that has value, that can circulate amongst us, that we all can trust, and it's backed by something that is actually there, tangible, real, or something digital. I don't know how that works, but something worth considering. I definitely am about it, because I would love to be able to give back into the community directly with some form of a coin or whatnot. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Fred Garr, calling from Arizona.
Fred from Arizona. How you doing this evening, my friend? What's on your mind?
Pretty good. Hey, I just want to say I'm in the precious metal camp.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think I've had some ups and downs. I actually bought at 40, and then when it came down, I ended up selling early.
Yeah.
When it was $40 an ounce for silver.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm back in the game. I've been in there for about a year, a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I think certain events, especially the Brexit event,
Mm-hmm.
could end up causing hyperinflation.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, we're going to definitely need a medium of exchange, and that medium of exchange is more than likely has to be something physical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against cryptos. I have a little bit of Litecoin and Bitcoin, but I'm just saying if there's a grid down or anything, power outage, yeah, you'll have your crypto once the power gets on. But in the meantime, when it's out, I'll have the silver and the gold that I can barter and exchange with.
Yeah, 100%, man. I agree 100%. So, yeah, definitely my thought, my process is a little bit of everything. But, yeah, definitely I'm more focused on my weight. And so I'm a weight guy. I'm trying to get my weight up. And so I believe that the heavier you are in the days ahead, the less likely you are to blow over when things come rushing through here. So that's my approach there. And so appreciate you calling and sharing that, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, man. Good stuff there. Get your weight up. Get your weight up. And I leave it alone. But anyway, so let's keep talking. Let me see here. Got a couple things brewing. It says an RTD coin by Summer, Mike D. I'm 100% behind that. So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you guys think about that? Oops, I gotta fix my screen. Came out on me. That's what happens when you move back too fast. But I'm interested in that, and I'm about trying something of that nature. So the question is, backed by what and stored where and things of that nature? Because I do know some people with vaults and stuff like that, and some bullion dealers where we can keep stuff and have it audited and all stuff like that. So yeah, that's somewhat of an extra work. But if people are interested and believe that it could be beneficial to the community, I'm definitely about trying to look into it and make it worth everybody's while to want to be a part of the project. So if we have any mathematicians out there, any so we got Spirit, who's a developer guy. So it's a lot of things out there we can do if you guys are interested. Because I actually thought about tokenizing land in Detroit, because there's a lot of vacant lots in the city. And so I would love to go and purchase as many lots as I can and just tokenize them things, and basically somehow, some way through those tokens raise more funds to acquire more physical land that will then be, so the coins will be eventually backed by actual land in Detroit, so people can actually acquire land in the city of Detroit through the token. That's what I had in my mind, but once again, that's a little too deep and too technical, so I would definitely need some help with that. But it says, like my pops always said, give the next man credit as being smarter than you. The banks won't die. They are like cockroaches. They have already bought into crypto behind the scenes. Anthony, 100%, man. I don't doubt it 100%. Jamie Dimon, who 2 years ago said it was a scam, stay away from it. After he made that statement and it dropped, Jamie Dimon's like, hey, go ahead and get, here's a meal. Go get me a meal worth. And so definitely Jamie Dimon probably has a bigger crypto portfolio than his all his employees. But he's talking about he'll fire his employees if he caught them buying Bitcoin. Yeah. So they have a reset the system over the weekend in order to reset. They have to reset the system over the weekend in order to reset. I hope you have a backup source. Look into ISO 222. The 6 group is going to be running the next Swift system. The 6 group. Tony, elaborate on that some more, my friend. I'm interested in that one. Says, forget it. That's been done and folded. Can't the land be farmed, Mike? The land can be farmed, yes. It's just in some of the areas, especially in the inner city, you wouldn't be able to actually have a garden up there, because people would come through and just it wouldn't be long before it wouldn't be worth having. But there are some areas that I know of off a freeway that some type of business or it's a warehouse where they bought 3 or 4 blocks, little small mini blocks of where it used to be houses that are all now vacant and torn down. So they've taken that entire stretch of land, and that particular company that bought that strip, I think it's like a shipping company or something, they bought all that land there, and they set up gardens, and they plant every type of vegetable you can imagine, and it's open to the public to just come throughout the summer and pluck and pull, whatever. So they be having all types of stuff out there. So it looks like, you know, it's a deserted area that looks like the countryside now, but it used to be a heavily populated area a lot when I was a lot younger. So Benja, people say, call in, Tony. They want to hear your voice, my friend. It says, starts with Kroger. Swift will become irrelevant. Starts with Kroger. Can the land was the banks didn't originate the crypto. They are just going to capitalize at the end, but so will I. Anthony. Test system was in Switzerland. Saw it on FT. Test Swissum. Tony, share with us a link, my friend. We want to know what you're talking about. It says, who will take over Swift? And here's the thing, you know, without even knowing really what Tony's talking about, everything is going towards a blockchain. So Swift, I'm sure, already have a blockchain type ledger system for transactions, hands down. They're not just sitting around allowing all their funds and transactions to shift to the blockchain and them not get involved. So you better believe if they're not already working with XRP, they have something in mind they're going to roll out sooner than later. Spirit King, it says, Mike, I guess to tokenize the land, you first stop would be to talk with a lawyer and figure out how to write such a contract. Yeah, that's something I would have to do. That just takes some time, of which I would have to sit down and get that done. But that's one of the things where it'll be worth looking into a little further. Brandy says, hi there, how you doing this evening? Low blood pressure, laughing out loud. Says, U.S. debt clock 22.1 trillion and increasing every second. Is that debt ever going to be paid off? Oh, Peter. Oh my goodness, that debt. Think about this. We struggle to pay the interest. The interest is, I think, $600 billion. And we borrow, hell, the deficit we're running is $1 trillion. If you look at it in all the factors, you know, together, we're running $1 trillion deficit. In good times. This is supposed to be good times right now. Trump talking about how good everything is. Imagine when his times are no longer good, and that $1 trillion goes to $3 or $4 trillion deficit, and the debt goes from 22 to 28 within a single year. Then we're going to be talking about how long will you want to be holding on to those debt instruments. It says, when the IMF announces they have Bitcoin, you are too late to accumulate because the Fed will be next. Deficit was $2 trillion since Trump took over. Spirit King, thanks for correcting me, my friend. IMS has e-money, not XRP. Yeah, but the question is, e-money. Question is, do you think governments and central banks would really want to do business in those things amongst themselves when they have all these alternatives coming out now? We see central banks accumulating massive amounts of gold. So you think they're willing to take e-money to do, you know, like, will confidence still be in anything coming from these fraudulent institutions will be the question. It says, when it hits 1 million, we will see. IMF will never use BTC. They'll create their own. I do personally believe that it'll be in the central bank's best interest, especially the Federal Reserve, to get into the crypto sector. Because a good way of helping either slow down or thwart some of the hyperinflation that could come from all those Federal Reserve notes in creation and in existence is to somehow try to peg or allow artificially increase the price of Bitcoin so that it gives the small fries, you and I, a chance to absorb some of this liquidity as the prices around us go up. So a lot of us will still feel like we're buku rich if Bitcoin goes to 1 million or something like that. But I would imagine if it goes to 1 million, that's because the currency is no longer good. But what about if the currency was still relatively stable and they hyperinflated cryptocurrencies, given, and think about this. This could be a way to inject confidence back into the economy, or to help steer in the next monetary system if the central banks around the world purchase directly cryptocurrencies, the top 10 or whatever, and drive up the prices of those particular coins to where the holders of those, which are a lot of small investors and institutional investors, which is why they're probably holding so much, to be honest with you, but yet everyone will have the wealth effect that will probably counterbalance some type of small spike in the Main Street economy, because more people will become rich. Well, I guess richer, but more people will have more liquidity as far as in their crypto portfolios to kind of buy into the not so inflated paper market. So it could be a lot of millionaires out there, basically, which buys the Federal Reserve a lot more time, because they can say the crypto sectors are official now. Look at all the millionaires out there. Lamborghini, everybody got Lamborghinis, and of course, Lamborghini prices will go up, but it'll help stave off hyperinflation, because if the cryptos spike up just as high as the currencies, then they can be on par, and more people probably have that. As Ani was saying, that 0.01 Bitcoin would be worth $100,000, but it will give you a little bit of probably a little purchasing power, because it'll be easier to transact and whatnot. So those are all just things worth thinking about, man. But I can see how it will be in the Federal Reserve's best interest to probably to inflate the price intentionally, so that they can draw attention off their activities and get people really excited about crypto. So, but let me know if I'm far off or if you kind of agree with me. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Either one, I'll take it. So Spirit says, housing is starting to turn over in a certain localities. For example, a lot of houses have been put on the market in NY and Connecticut because of the caps under the Trump tax cuts. Okay. Basement awakens. As far as the housing, let me see. It says localities, housing have been put on the market in NYC. Yeah, there's yeah, I imagine real estate, man, in New York, Connecticut, and just a whole New England area, it has to be expensive. I'm thinking about, like, I'm living in New York, man. I'm just like, man, how do people do it? It says IMF can't open Bitcoin because it's decentralized. But, Tony, the IMF could acquire a lot of Bitcoin still, because all they got to do is come out with one more faulty story to drive the price down as best they can. And so, Omni, another question is, are you familiar with the gentleman who talks about the hyperwave and how his graphs or his studying has him believing that he's anticipating $1,000 Bitcoin pretty soon. And so he's gun-ho on that, and he's been right about a lot of things to date. So I personally, I wouldn't be mad if it hit 1,000. So I'm not like, I actually hope it does hit 1,000, but that's just me, because I would just, get more of it at that point. And so it says people, where we go? People keep forgetting that anytime they can simply pass a law banning crypto, sure, you can't take the blockchain down, but any illegit businesses would be impossible. Very true. Great point. Yeah, man. That's what it is. What it says, you actually think the government is going to allow you to be the 1%? Tony, of course not. I'm just saying, in general, like, it'll be in the Federal Reserve's best interest to intentionally, like, okay, how about this? Here's a good way of diverting attention off of them this next market correction. Instead of buying more treasuries, instead of adding another 4 or 5 or 6 trillion to their balance sheet, because their balance sheet will never get down to what it was prior to the Great Recession at about less than $1 trillion. So the only thing they can do is add to it by buying more assets. So what prevents the Federal Reserve from actually buying equities as well as in the crypto sector? Because they have an unlimited supply of currency they can create. What can keep them from buying Bitcoin this next rally? Apart from, because there will be a seller for the right amount of paper. So if they themselves, either over the counter or under the table, either way it go, if they deliberately get into Bitcoin, they can themselves take Bitcoin up artificially to add to their portfolio. They can put Bitcoin on their balance sheet as an asset that would get a lot of people excited, which would keep their attention off of the fact they also bought half of the Dow Jones or whatever was left on the Dow Jones after it crashed to pump it back up. So when you got a printing press, you can do pretty much whatever you want, because there will be some sucker out there that'll take $1 million next week, but they're not realizing that same Bitcoin could be 10 million the next week if they continue to pump in more funny money. So those are all just things that I think could be possibilities, could be far-fetched, who knows. But once again, when you got a printing press with unlimited amount of paper behind it, ain't no telling what they can do, because we ain't seen the worst yet, in my opinion. Says Mike, think about it and take the emotion out. They have never used SDR. They are already buying equity. No doubt. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. But they're buying it, and they're probably more so. They're probably the ones that bought into this last dip in December, which started off this new year with a little bit of a spike to where we're almost at 26,000 right now. So I don't doubt they are buying it. Because we all know Switzerland is, and some other central banks are doing it direct. Japan is doing it. They're buying up. I think they own half of their bond market, as well as a good portion of the stock market there. So it's the next thing to do, definitely. So it's just a matter of what else will they be getting into. So I think they're going to be trying to buy up a lot of things in effort to try to prop things up. Says Brandy Monica says all fraud, Bitcoin and all crypto is just like the dollar, all a sham. Brandy, sham or no sham. It has been declared a financial asset. And so the best thing, I believe, of course, get your weight up. We all know where you should be putting we all know that you should be redeeming your Federal Reserve notes in proportion to what you can afford to redeem, because Federal Reserve notes always were intended to be redeemable. Just take a little history lesson and walk back and look at all those bills that had redeemable in this amount or redeemable in that amount. So it's no longer on those bills. But if you know to redeem those notes and you got your weight up, in my opinion, you can take a couple pennies and throw it. You can take a couple pennies and throw it towards that 0.01 Bitcoin, which would be what, $3 right now or $30 right now or whatever it is right now, and sit on that thing and knowing that it only goes up just because paper goes down. You're going to be absorbing a lot of liquidity in the days ahead. So, in my opinion, it wouldn't hurt. And so we got an article, as mentioned. So we have one from Mr. Jeff, the official RTD reporter on the streets. And so it says, retail apocalypse, 465 store closures in 48 hours. So this is the follow-up to the last video I did. And it talks about, so the next day, I did the 300 stores in 24 hours. So the very next day, another 165 was added. And so I talked about Gap, I talked about JCPenney and Victoria's Secret, but Foot Locker, looks like Foot Locker's getting in the game. So they're closing stores. And so let me see here. How many Foot Lockers? Because Foot Lockers, I stopped shopping at Foot Lockers a long time ago, just because I hate paying full price for anything. But I wonder. Let me look this up. I'm curious as to how many Foot Lockers. Let me find out how many Foot Lockers are closing. And let's see, because Foot Locker to me tells a lot. Foot Locker tells us a lot because Foot Lockers is a good indicator of the younger generation. And so here we have, so he said Foot Locker to shutter 165 stores after earnings blowout. And so my question is, earnings blowout, what did they dip to that would lead them to so is this like a progressive thing, or was this all of a sudden like just this year, or I'm starting, so listen to me on this one. I'm starting to think that those true holiday Christmas type numbers, we're starting to see the side effects of those numbers, as they may not have been as strong, and out there obviously were not as strong with retail stores if you have all these stores closing. But yet I remember seeing many stories talking about that Christmas sales are at all-time highs, but they must have been referring to online. So all these brick and mortar stores are closing and they're shifting to solely online. And so let me see, it said the firm has been investing heavily into expanding its offers to consumers. They announced a 12-month investment in apparel. It says, but a Foot Locker upgrade to existing brick and mortar location and diverse product lines help spur a 9.5% growth. Yeah. So 165 stores will be closing probably this year. And so once again, as I've mentioned before, we are just at the beginning of the year still. It's only the 4th day of the month of March, and we're hearing about 465 stores closing. That's never a good sign. Wait till spring and summer gets here. Wait till spring and summer gets here. But as always, people, we're coming down a home stretch. And it's been great hanging out this evening with you guys. And as always, I got some information over here. If you guys are interested in finding out more, some free resources down below. And also, if you guys are interested, you know, I'm working with Leor Gantz from Wealth Research Group. So he has a great research team. So he actually put together this little retirement is a myth. So I gave some ideas to throw in there for me. So if you guys are interested in finding out why we believe that retirement is a myth and it's no longer something that you should count on, I think you might want to check that out because there's some good information in that there. So link is below if you're interested. And always, people, if you want to get on the gold team, let me know. Holler at your boy. Get your gold up. But other than that, it's been great hanging out this evening. Definitely leave a comment. And if you enjoy the back and forth, give it a thumbs up so more people can find out what we're doing over here at RTD. And as always, I will see you guys tomorrow night. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And other than that, be safe, be blessed, stay prayed up. Peace.